many Israelim are calling Tu B'Av today, that is the 15th of the month of Av, they call it Valentine's Day, and it's a little bit twisting the real meaning of the day. So let's see, why do we celebrate Tu B'Av? Some of you might remember from previous years. I have here a nice article by Chabad. And when before Tisha B'Av, we said, and we quoted what Chachamim tell us, Mishenichnas Av mema'atim besimcha. From the moment that Av begins, we minimize our happiness. But Baruch Hashem, that period of time is from Rosh Chodesh Av at 15 of Av, only half of the month. The 15th of Av, we are actually happy, to the point that our rabbis even tell us, Lo hayu yamim tovim leIsrael keTu B'Av. There were no happy days to Israel like Tu B'Av and Yom Kippurim as well. So what is the reason that Tu B'Av is a happy day? What is the reason that they call it a San Valentine days, like a day of Shidduchim? Even I from here try to coordinate our last Seudah Shlishit, as we usually do every year. We devote that Seudah Shlishit for Shidduchim. We bring Shatchaniot and we speak about the subject. And what is that really happen? So let's read from this article. The Dancing Maidens of Yerushalayim. Said Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel, there were no greater festivals for Israel than the 15th of Av and Yom Kippur. On these days, the daughters of Yerushalayim would go out and dance in the vineyards. And what would they say? Young man, raise your eyes and see what you select for yourself. And it continues, actually. It's very interesting and cute to see what each girl would tell the boys for them to choose her. I come from a good family, look at my beauty, look at my wisdom, different qualities that they have to pride themselves. But that's not the reason of Tu B'Av. They went out to dance because of the happiness of this day. That's what we sometimes forget to remember. The reason of Tu B'Av is not that they went out to dance and then they chose them, the boys came and chose their kala, their girl. There are joyous events that happened, and that's why they went out to dance. So what happened? We know that Tisha B'Av, as we mentioned on Tisha B'Av, the first reason for mourning was that Bnei Israel, influenced by the spies, by the Meraglim, they cried and they rejected the land. So Hashem made a decree that that generation, all those from 20 years and up, would die during those 40 years in the desert. Now, every Tisha B'Av, apparently the Midrash tell us that they would even make their own grave and lay down on the grave, and that's it. And the next morning, whoever got up, whoever didn't, it was because it was their time to die. And that happened during 40 years. On Tu B'Av, after 40 years, it says here, after 40 years of wandering through the wilderness, the dying finally ended. A new generation of Jews stood ready to enter the Holy Land. It was the 15th of Av of the year 2487 from creation. So because those deaths that were part of the decree from Hashem stopped at this date, that was a reason for celebration. Okay? And also what happened, as long as members of this doomed generation were still alive, Hashem did not communicate with Moshe in an affectionate manner. As soon as the last of these men died, once again, God lovingly communicated with Moshe, which means that also, it's not only that they died, but it affected the way that Hashem will connect with Moshe Rabbeinu, that was always our intermediary to connect with Am Israel. Another reason that is it sounds like very close to home, the tribes of Israel were permitted to intermarry. What does it mean? So originally, every tribe was supposed to marry only inside the tribe. Why? In order to ensure the orderly division of the Holy Land between the 12 tribes of Israel, restrictions had been placed on marriages between members of two different tribes. A woman who had inherited tribal lands from her father was forbidden to marry out of her tribe, lest her children, members of their father's tribe, cause the transfer of land from one tribe to another by inheriting her state, as recounted in number 36. This ordinance was binding on the generation that conquered and settled the Holy Land. When this restriction was lifted, on the 15th of Av, the event was considered a cause for celebration and festivity. Imagine a girl that fell in love with a boy from a different tribe and they were not allowed to marry. So this also makes us understand why they would go out and dance, because suddenly if you are imagine you are in this tribe, you already know every boy in your community and you don't see that there is anyone there for you. Suddenly they open the doors and they tell you, here, go, you can check also there and you can check also there. Wow, what a relief. So that's a cause of celebration. Then another reason is the tribe of Binyamin was permitted to re-enter the community. We know, we're going to say it very fast, the tribe of Binyamin had been excommunicated for its behavior in the incident of the concubine of Giv'ah, a very, very ugly episode of our history that is found at the end of the book of Judges, of Shoftim. There was like a civil war, and the tribe of Binyamin was excommunicated. Nobody wanted to marry them, and they were a very small tribe. That if this wouldn't have happened, if they would not have been readmitted into the community of Israel, they would have been disappeared. So this occurred during the judgeship of Othniel ben Kenaz, a judge that led the people of Israel in these years that are written here. Okay, I think with this, let's see also this one. One of the tragedies of Tisha B'Av was the city of Betar, where Bar Kokhba was rebelling against the Romans. The city was destroyed, everybody was killed, was a real massacre and disaster for Am Israel. And on top of that, they were not allowed to bury the dead. The streets were full of dead bodies and rivers of blood were in the streets. So here, let's read about this. The fortress of Betar was the last holdout of the Bar Kokhba rebellion. When Betar fell on Tisha B'Av, Bar Kokhba and many thousands of Jews were killed. The Romans massacred the survivors of the battle with great cruelty and would not even allow the Jews to bury their dead. When the dead of Betar were finally brought to burial on Av 15, an additional blessing, Hatov Vehametiv, was added to the grace after meals in commemoration. It's very interesting that this specific reason we're going to see that connects to our material on Parashat Shavua that we are going to study soon. And whoever wants, you can go to this web article on Chabad and find one or two more reasons. But this is a day of celebration, usually connected to the opening of things that were like kind of stuck there, especially in the area of marriage. That's why we celebrate, and there are many weddings after the period of time after Tisha B'Av that we were not allowed to have weddings for 3 weeks. So Baruch Hashem, after Tisha B'Av, especially on this night of Tu B'Av, from last night to night, we have many weddings and many celebrations. Okay, let's go to our parasha. The name of the parasha is Ekev. Ekev in Hebrew means, I really don't know if to make you participate and how are we going to deal with the mute and unmute, but let's try. Anybody wants to participate? Why are we celebrating? Sorry, what is the meaning of Ekev? Anybody? Ekev? Okay, so no participation. I'm going to continue talking by myself. Let me just move my screen. Okay. Ekev means hill. And I think that Rashi says there, when Moshe Rabbeinu is telling, wait, why cannot bring here? Okay. When Moshe Rabbeinu is telling the people about the mitzvot, the observance of the mitzvot, he uses the word Ekev because he refers even to mitzvot that would seem to us sometimes insignificant, like very like small things. And that's why they say the mitzvot, the Adam dorech ba'akevav. mitzvot that a person would step on them, like not giving to them importance. And each one of us has a list of this type of mitzvot. Like, now that mitzvah is not for me. It's not on my list on the list of the things that I do. So that's one way of our rabbis explain. I still didn't read the pasuk, but once we read it, you will get better what I'm saying. Moshe Rabbeinu, I just remind those that were not on the previous parashiot, is on the second of his three monologues that he is speaking in front of Am Israel before departing from this world. We are about 37, 38 days before Moshe
Never
passed
mind, I'll
away.
stop on again.
Moshe, can you please mute yourself?
Yes.
Okay, here I did. So these are the mitzvot that Moshe Rabbeinu says, you have to listen to all the mitzvot, even to the little ones. On the first, sorry, I go back, I lost my track. Moshe Rabbeinu is giving three monologues to Am Israel before passing away. We mentioned how Moshe, the one that has the challenge to speak, now is a whole speaker. He's just speaking by himself to the nation. And just to explain a very important point for those that did not hear, the book of Devarim is actually Moshe saying the things, but Hashem told Moshe to write them in the Torah. That's why the Torah is divine, but is the Moshe doing it by his own initiative? The speech is Moshe's initiative. The writing it down on the books of the Torah is coming from Hashem's commandment. So what is Moshe? At the beginning, Moshe started with telling us our history, what happened to us, how were these years in the desert, how Moshe took us from Egypt, etc., etc. And now he's going on this parasha. The main subject will be Moshe trying to convince us. He cares for us. You have to follow the berit, the covenant. You have to observe the commandments of Hashem. So according to that, some Chachamim explain, Ekev means you have to observe the commandment, the mitzvot, even those that feel insignificant. Like for some people could be before eating bread, doing netilat yadayim. For some people would be, I don't know, certain rules of kashrut or certain rules of Shabbat. So the pasuk says, and if you do obey these rules and observe them carefully, the eternal your God will maintain faithfully for you the covenant made on oath with your fathers. So leaving aside the meaning of Ekev that refers to the more insignificant mitzvot, the literal meaning of the word is Ekev is beikvot, as a consequence of that, which means when you keep the mitzvot, Hashem will also maintain the covenant made on oath with your fathers. Like there is a relationship here, you and Hashem. Hashem is asking your part. Your part is keep the Torah, keep the mitzvot. This is us as the Jewish nation. What is Hashem's part? Hashem's part is to protect us. And it's coming on the next psukim that there is a list of blessings of brachot. By the way, these brachot are more in the national level. They are related to Am Israel and not individually. And this is what it means that Hashem loves us. This is what it means that Hashem has this covenant with us. Yes, you keep my Torah. You represent me in the world by fulfilling my words, my Torah. And look what I will do. God will favor you and bless you and multiply you, blessing you, your issue from the womb and your produce from the soil, which means fertility, abundance, your new grain and wine and oil, the calving of your herd and the lambing of your flock. Your animals will be healthy, strong, multiple, in the land sworn to your fathers to be assigned to you. And it continues with the brachot, you shall be blessed. Baruch tiyeh mikol ha'amim. Lo yeh becha akar v'akara uvivemtecha. You shall be blessed above all other prophets. There shall be no sterile male or female among you or among your livestock. So if I would ask you, what bracha do you want from Hashem? I want to have prosperity. I want to have continuity, children. I want to have health, bracha, refuah shlema. בעזרת השם, may this שיעור be לרפואה שלמה of אסתר בת קלרה. והסיר השם ממך כל חולי, וכל מדווה מצרים הרעים אשר ידעת, לא ישימם בך ונתנם בכל שונאיך. God will ward off from you all sickness. I will not bring upon you any of the dreadful diseases of Egypt, about which you know, but will inflict them upon all your enemies. And then what else do we want as a bracha? We want a victory over our enemies. We want to sit with safety, with shalom. As the next bracha, you shall destroy all the peoples that the eternal your God delivers to you, showing them no pity, and you shall not worship their gods, for that would be a snare to you. So we see that interesting things about this brachot that Hashem is promising to us. Number one, they are brachot that bring us what we need, not extra. It doesn't say you will all be wearing jewelry. You will all be living in these mansions with in these specific neighborhoods and with this. No, it says what you need to have a life of tranquility. And why? Because it's like a circle. Hashem is saying, keep my Torah and I'll give you my brachot, but the meaning is, I'll give you my brachot so you can keep my Torah and my mitzvot. It's like a circle. One thing brings the other. And this is the meaning of this brachot. Another interesting fact about the brachot is that in order to achieve any of these things, we need to do our part. It's not hocus pocus, you're going to be healthy. Hocus pocus, you're going to have wealth. Hocus pocus. Everything requires my hishtadlut, my proactivity, my part, and then Hashem will bless with it. Okay? I am going on, Pasuk 17, should you say to yourself, these nations are more numerous than we, how we can dispossess them? Hashem is asking us, you are going to be hesitant in regards to my brachot, in regards to the enemies, but you know what? Lo tiranem, you need to have no fear of them. You have but to bear in mind that the eternal your God did to Pharaoh and all the Egyptians. Try to remember, have some memory. You are not sure that I can, where I am, you are not sure that I can take care of your enemies, that I can help you with Iran, with the Gazans, with the Palestinians. Try to have a little bit of memory in regards to what happened to you when, why I have this in my screen? You also have this? Okay, give me 1 second. Okay. Sorry. So you just need to remember, what did I do? What Hashem did to Paro and to Mitzrayim. What else you need to remember? So now I want you to pay attention. In this parasha, we have a very strong motive of what Moshe is telling us. Have memory. Do not forget how was your history. You not forget how Hashem intervened on your behalf. So what Hashem did, the wondrous acts that you saw with your own eyes, the signs and the portents, the mighty hand, and the outstretched arm by which the eternal your God liberated you. Thus will the eternal your God do to all the peoples you now fear. The eternal will also send them a plague against them, etc., etc. Do not stand in dread of them, for the eternal your God is in your midst, a great and awesome God. He will take your enemies out of you. And look how interesting. I love this pasuk. I personally take a big lesson from here. It says here, the eternal your God will dislodge those peoples before you little by little. You will not be able to put an end to them at once, else the wild beasts would multiply to your hurt. So here Hashem is telling us, I'm going to take care of your enemies. I'm going to help you to defeat them. And perhaps Bnei Israel saw only few left here, and only few were defeated here. And I still couldn't against this one, and I still couldn't do this, and it's taking such a long time. And sometimes it feels, Hashem, why? Why you're not helping me? Why you're not making it easy for me to achieve the things that I want? The Pasuk is telling us there is a reason. There is a reason why Hashem do not defeat them all at once. It says, else the wild beasts would multiply to your hurt. If I make the land empty of everybody that is living there, and there are houses empty, and you still are not big enough to fill those houses, or still you didn't have time to reach every corner, somebody else, you will have different tenants, animals will come there. So besides of what it's telling me, I think for all of us is a beautiful message to be patient. To be patient with Hashem when He delivers His brachot to us. He knows the right dose. He knows what I can handle. He knows what is good for me. He knows what now is going to bring me more problems. Like, for example, we know about people that won the lottery and they for sure prayed for that. So that winning the lottery didn't do any good to them. It was too overwhelming. Sometimes the brachot in big amounts can be too overwhelming. So I think it's a beautiful message from here. I am skipping a little bit. Hashem is telling us about Avodah Zarah to destroy all of that. And again, Hashem is telling us what is the biggest reward by us keeping the Torah. Again, Moshe is saying, Hashem is telling Moshe to write, you shall faithfully observe all the instructions that I enjoin upon you today, that you may thrive and increase and be able to possess the land that Hashem promised on oath to your fathers. We forgot that the first encounter between Abraham Avinu and Akadosh Baruch Hu, or the first interaction, the first dialogue between Hashem and Abraham is Lech lecha me'artzecha u'mimulavtecha el haaretz asher areka. Go to the land. Like our journey, our connection with Hashem begins with Hashem telling us, I am sending you to that land. And if throughout the whole book of Bereshit with Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, that's how the book ends also, when Yosef tells his brothers, you are going to be in Egypt for a while, but remember, Pakod ifkod Elohim etchem, Hashem will one day save you and take you to the land. So our I would say, our reason d'etre, our reason of our existence is absolutely, as a Jewish nation, connected to Eretz Israel. That's why it says here, keep the mitzvot and then you will get the land. It's not go to live in Eretz Israel. You have to do that. No, you will get that zechut to live in Eretz Israel. And again, the motive of lizkor, of remembering. Hashem is telling us, remember the long way the eternal your God has made you travel in the wilderness these past 40 years in order to test you by hardships, to learn what was in your hearts, whether you would keep the commandments or not. So Moshe Rabbeinu is telling us, Hashem took you for 40 years in the desert. Remember, those 40 years were in order to test you, in order to teach you and to check if you will end up keeping the mitzvot. What type of test was in the desert? God subjected you to the hardship of hunger. Like imagine, from day one, we leave Egypt, we open our eyes, and there is man. Open the mouth, eat. You are thirsty, open your mouth, water. It wasn't like that. Sometimes it feels bad because we have episodes where Bnei Israel didn't really behave very nice because we didn't ask things in a nice way. But if you think about it after the fact, Hashem doesn't immediately inject us with the food, with the water. He first makes us be petrified. What are we going to eat? What am I going to give to my children? I don't have water. The water is finished. We need to feel that feeling of desperation. I don't have food. I don't have water. To cry, to act even in bad ways, the way we tell Moshe, better for us to have died in the desert. Why did you take us out of Egypt? But that feeling of an extreme, I don't know what I'm going to do, I'm going to die, was needed before Hashem sent us the man, before Hashem sent us the water, because then we learn for the future. Every time that you are going to be hungry, every time that you lose your job, every time that, I don't know, you are thirsty, whatever it is, remember what happened in the desert for 40 years. That was a school of emunah. So it says here, Hashem subjected you to the hardship of hunger and then gave you manna to eat, which neither you nor your ancestors had ever known, in order to teach you that a human being does not live on bread alone, כי לא על הלחם לבדו יחיה אדם, כי על כל מוצא פי אדוני יחיה אדם. But that one may live on anything that Hashem decrees. In other words, yes, we need the bread, but it's absolutely connected to Hashem giving it to us. What else happened in the desert? Our clothes didn't get ruined. The clothes upon you did not wear out, nor did your feet swell these 40 days. Ve'yadata im levavecha, bear in mind that the eternal your God disciplines you just as a man disciplines his son. How many times a child can feel that his dad is not fair, his mom is mean, she didn't let me do this, he didn't let me go there. And later, as we mature, we understand that that discipline is for your own good. So Hashem perhaps made you go through the desert, through these challenges, because it will be for your own good, Am Israel, for you to develop this relationship of trust on Hashem, on HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So therefore, again, Moshe is trying to convince us, you remember all of this? Therefore, keep the commandments of the eternal your God, walk in God's ways, and show reverence. Why? And again, what is going to be the reward, the consequence, the bracha, the zechut? For the eternal your God is bringing you into a good land. Eretz Israel is called Eretz Tovah, a good land. A land with streams and springs and fountains issuing from plain and hill. Eretz chita useora vegefen uteina verimon eretz shemen udvash. This is a land that is blessed with the 7 special fruits of Eretz Israel. A land of wheat, barley, vines, figs, pomegranates. A land of olive trees and honey. By the way, honey is dates. So you have the 7 special fruits of Eretz Israel. Chita is wheat, seora is barley, gefen is vines, figs is tehena, rimon is pomegranate, eretz shemen is olive trees, and dvash is dates. So these 7 fruits are special of Eretz Israel, and we need to give them priority whenever we need to choose from all the fruits that are in front of me where to say the brachot. What else do we know about Eretz Israel? A land where you may eat food without stint, where you will lack nothing. Stint is poverty, right? A land whose rocks are iron and from whose hills you can mine copper. You just need to be in Israel and see the supermarkets and the cars and how people buy before Shabbat. The bracha that you see in Eretz Israel. Sometimes I'm in awe. Really, you go to a Osher ad on a Thursday, on a Friday, and everybody, not the rich and not everybody has acts with so much bracha. And now we have a very special pasuk here. So the parasha began with Hashem giving us brachot. This is what I'm going to give you if you behave, if you fulfill my commandments. Then Hashem is telling us, remember all what you went through in the desert. Remember how I was always behind you, protecting you. Like we know who is this Hashem that is asking from me to keep the commandments. So now I would say that this is the secret that Moshe Rabbeinu is giving to Am Israel, to all of us, in order for us not to fall into forgetfulness, into ungratefulness, for us to be appreciating and being grateful for all the brachot that Hashem gives us. So this is a very important pasuk that speaks about the only bracha that we have from all the system of brachot, that is bracha, a bracha that we have to say that is mideoraita. It's how you say? It's from the Torah. All the brachot that I say, Bore Peri Ha'etz, Bore Mine Mezonot, She'akol Niya Bidbaro, all of them are brachot that our rabbis instituted for us. And we have two sets of brachot that I mean birkot hane'enim, the brachot for the food. Brachot that I say before I eat, and brachot that I say after I ate. Now, before I eat, I'm kind of asking permission from Hashem. I am kind of saying, Hashem, I know that I have this apple here with me, thanks to you. I know that you created the fruit from the tree. I know that you created the world in this way that we all have food. So these are the brachot at the beginning. But after we finish eating, we also say bracha. The bracha after I eat is to be grateful, because you know what? I can say, Hashem, can I eat this apple because I'm so hungry? Or can I say shakol because I'm so thirsty? I recognize it from you. Give me water, give me water. The wisdom or the greatness is after I ate, I'm satisfied, I drank, that's it, I don't have that need, to still remember from where is what I just got and to be grateful for it, to be thankful. No, so this pasuk is speaking about Birkat Hamazon. Birkat Hamazon is the only bracha that is mandatory from the Torah. For women is a little bit in machloket, but I think we all take it upon ourselves. After we eat the certain amount of bread that justifies to say Birkat Hamazon, because if you just ate a bite, is not enough to say Birkat Hamazon. Pay attention to that, especially on Shabbatot, where we eat all a big meal and there is so much food, and many women don't want to eat bread, so you don't have to say Birkat Hamazon. If you want to have the zechut to say Birkat Hamazon because it's a mitzvah, so then you have to eat at least a kazait of bread, like 28 grams, more or less. So what is the bracha saying? Ve'achalta, ve'savata, uberachta et Adonai Elohecha la'aretz hatova asher natan lach. When you have eaten, your fill, which means when you feel satisfied, savata is satisfied, then uberachta et Hashem Elokecha. You have to bless Hashem your God, al haaretz hatova asher natan lach, for the good land that He gave you. Now, Birkat Hamazon, if I would make a class only about Birkat Hamazon, we would go through the brachot. But just take what I'm telling you. We have 4 brachot. 3 of them are included in this commandment from the Torah. So it's the Hashem is telling us, Moshe is telling us in the name of Hashem, when you eat, you have to bless Hashem, which means I have to bless Hashem for the food that I ate. So the first bracha is called in Birkat Hamazon, Hazan et Hakol. Baruch Ata Hashem, Hazan et Hakol. What does it mean? Blessed are you, Hashem, that takes care of giving food to every creature. Like Poteach et Yadecha, umasbia lechol chai ratzon. You open your hands and you give food to be satisfied, lechol chai ratzon, to every creature. Now, Chachamim tell us, who instituted the bracha Hazan et Hakol? It was Moshe Rabbeinu. When? What was the momentum that made him realize, wow, we have to bless Hashem for the food? After the man falls. The man that was the sustenance for this generation in the desert inspired Moshe Rabbeinu to institute the bracha Hazan et Hakol. Okay, so ve'achalta ve'savata uberachta. You say bracha for having eaten and being satisfied. Now, what other element Chachamim understood that needs to exist in the bracha? Al, what are we blessing for? Al haaretz hatova, for the land. So the second bracha is Baruch Ata Hashem al haaretz ve'al hamazon. Who instituted the bracha of the land? According to Chachamim, the second bracha was instituted by Yehoshua. After because Moshe Rabbeinu, we know, is not entering the land. When Yehoshua enters with Bnei Israel and they conquer Eretz Israel, they institute the bracha al haaretz ve'al hamazon. Okay, but we are not done here. There is a third bracha that, I don't know if you remember, I'm holding my Sidur here. Let's see if I have it easy. If not, I just will memorize. Okay, yes. So the next bracha is here. What does it say? ותבנה ירושלים מדרך במהרה בימינו, ברוך אתה השם, בונה ירושלים. Who can guess who instituted the bracha of בונה ירושלים? So when Yeshua comes, he helps Bnei Israel inherit the land. That's why it's al haaretz. But when he says haaretz hatova, the good land, what is the best part of Eretz Israel is Yerushalayim. Who is the one that recognizes where is Yerushalayim and conquers Yerushalayim? Ira Ibusi, that's David HaMelech. And later on, also his son Shlomo, because of Binyan Bet HaMikdash. So I think it's beautiful. There is a fourth bracha that I told you before that connects to the events of Tu B'Av. The fourth bracha is Hatov veHametiv, that we read, that is a bracha that our Chachamim instituted after the bodies, the deaths from Betar were allowed to be buried. So this is the meaning of Birkat Hamazon. And I think our challenge today, that Baruch Hashem, I think everybody that is attending this class knows about Birkat Hamazon and says Birkat Hamazon, and Birkat Hamazon is part of what we do. Our challenge is to really understand what we are saying. Pay attention, put kavanah, and when I say Birkat Hamazon, really say it from a place of appreciation and gratitude to Borei Olam for all the good that he tells us. Look on Pasuk 11. Again, Moshe Rabbeinu is warning us, do not forget. Take care lest you forget the eternal your God and fail to keep the commandments, rules, and laws that I enjoin upon you today. And now here is the big risk. And here is the big warning of Moshe Rabbeinu. Previous parasha that we did not study together because it was very soon after Tisha B'Av. And this parasha, Moshe Rabbeinu is repeating something very, very important. I don't think it's new to any of us since we're studying this parashiot all the time, but it's very important that we apply it to our life, because reading from Moshe and understanding the idea is one thing, applying it to our lives, it's another thing. So what is Moshe saying is, he's not warning us, be careful when you enter, there might be terrorists hiding, have these weapons, use these strategic things in your battle. He's not worried for the enemies. For that, he knows that Hashem is going to take care. He's not worried for us. But what does he say? When you have eaten, be careful. It says, pen, if it can happen that you eat, vesavata, and you get satisfied, ubatim tovim tivneh, and you have built fine houses to live in, and your herds and flocks have multiplied, and your silver and gold have increased, and everything you own has prospered. What can happen to you? When you have everything, when suddenly business went really well, when suddenly you can move to a better house, you can build, you can go to the best vacation, when suddenly things start going well for you, you are upgrading in any area of your life, what can happen to you? 14, beware lest your heart grows haughty and you forget the eternal your God who freed you from the land of Egypt, the house of bondage. I'm sure we tell ourselves, no, of course. I all the time say, thanks God. I know everything that I have is from Hashem. I think it goes beyond that intellectual awareness. It's something more subliminal in the way we live life. Suddenly you start to feel more secure. Suddenly you don't have the need to be telling Hashem, please help me. I really want to move. Please, it's so small for us here. Hashem, please help my husband to get a rise. Please, Hashem, help. It doesn't, there is no need for that. And you are just focused on enjoying what you have. And we are not against having. Baruch Hashem, may all of us have bracha. But Moshe Rabbeinu is concerned. And he's telling us, be careful. Be careful. There is a natural tendency to become haughty, to become arrogant, to suddenly walk in a room and not say hi. Or for some people to be invisible to you. Or to understand that now you hang out only with this type of people and not with this other type of people. It's not because you think I'm better than them. No, it's something that you don't even think, you don't even realize are natural things that happen to you. When you have more, you need less Hashem. And when you need Hashem less, you become more and more the center of the universe. And then he says, again, sorry, where am I? You are going to forget this God, the God who led you through the great and terrible wilderness with its serpents and scorpions. He protected you from the serpents, a parched land with no water in it, who brought forth water for you from the flinty rock. Hamachilcham bamidbar, that God that gave you the man, etc., etc. And now what will happen to you? Why is it this that we become more arrogant and we forget Hashem? Because imagine you worked very hard to achieve that position in your company, or you worked very hard to build that house, or so what can happen to you? You say to yourselves, כוחי ועוצם ידי עשה לי את החיל הזה. Or you are very intelligent, you are smart, you are brilliant, you are my own power and the might of my own hand have won this wealth for me. But then Moshe says, no. Remember that is the eternal your God who gives you the power to get wealth. In fulfillment of the covenant made on oath with your fathers, as is still the case. Don't forget that everything that you have is from Hashem. And Hashem today gives to this, and tomorrow he decides to give to the other. And today we are up here, and tomorrow perhaps we are down here. And there is no reassurance that life is always going to be like this, not in the individual level, and not in the national level. You know, how much we see, I'm not speaking about wealth, I'm speaking about even tranquility or comfort. What we are seeing that is happening in New York to the Jews, like it's crazy. Who would have thought that things can change in that way? That in New York today, perhaps in the evening, you have to be afraid if your teen son is on the subway with a kippah. Who would have thought that? Who would have thought? Like things can change. That's why we need to remind ourselves everything we have, again, in the individual level and in the communal level, in the Am Israel level, everything is coming from Hashem. Remember that is the eternal your God who gives you the power to get wealth in fulfillment of the covenant made on oath with your fathers, as it's still the case. So Hashem is speaking about, if not, I will, like if you forget Hashem and you go after other gods, he will punish us and we will disappear. And now again, he's telling us you are about to conquer the land and you will have enemies. So funny what is coming now. You know, we live in times where the norm is to say things that make the other feel good, right? Imagine somebody says, oh, I don't know if I will be able to do this, or I don't deserve this, or we'll say, no, of course you deserve that. Of course you deserve this and more. We will say that. That's how we are being taught to be nice, to make the other one feel good. What is Moshe Rabbeinu doing here? Moshe Rabbeinu is saying, okay, you are going to the land, you are going to find nations that are very mighty, and know that Hashem is going to come with you and is going to subdue them. Look what Moshe is saying. It's like he's really warning us not to forget Hashem, and also not to be entitled, not totally the opposite of entitlement. Like normally a person like we, if something suddenly is taken from me, I would say, Hashem, why? Why you do this to me? I deserve it. Like we live with us that feeling of entitlement. We think that all what we have is because we deserve it. So Hashem is saying, and when the eternal your God, Moshe is saying, has thrust them from your path, say not to yourself, God has enabled us to possess this land because of our virtues. Don't say that is because you deserve it. It is rather because of the wickedness of those nations that God is dispossessing them before you. Actually, it's not because you are so good. Sometimes we are not so good, but they are worse than us. So perhaps they deserve to be expelled, which is, by the way, great news for Am Israel. The fact that when the enemy is bad, Hashem will take him out of our way is good news. And he continues saying, Moshe, it is not because of your virtues and your rectitude that you will be able to possess their country, but it's because of their wickedness that the eternal your God is possessing those nations before you. And in order to fulfill the oath that God made to your fathers, Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, know then that it's not for any virtue of yours that the eternal your God is giving you this good land to possess. You are a stiff-necked people. And again, he's telling us, remember how you provoke Hashem, and how Hashem, and how now he's going to speak about Chet Egel and the Luchot. And I want to move a little bit more because I only have like 7 minutes, something like that. I just want to show you how our parasha is speaking about the Luchot, how he to the two tablets and how to break them, and how Moshe Rabbeinu is going for 40 years to pray to Hashem. And I am skipping. After Hashem is telling Moshe to make the other two tablets. And he's speaking about the cities that are being given to the Leviim. There is a beautiful pasuk here that it says, Hashem is giving you what you have because of zechut avot. Look, because of the zechut of your forefathers. רק באבותיך חשק השם לאהבה אותם. Yet it was to your ancestors that God was drawn out of love for them, so that you, their lineal descendants, were chosen from among all peoples, as is now the case. But he's telling us something. Yes, you are inheriting the zechut of your forefathers, but you know what you need to do? You need to do a brit milah. What type of a brit milah? Umaltem et orlat levavchem. Cut away, therefore, the thickening, the foreskin about your hearts, and stiffen your necks no more. Do not have stiff neck. Don't be like really insolent that you don't want to hear what Hashem tells you. And also, you have to take your heart. Your hearts have like a foreskin. You need to remove their foreskin, which means allow the heart to be exposed. Now, it could mean two things. One beautiful way of understanding Orlat Levavchem is to become more sensitive, not to be totally untouched by the things that happen around you, by the pain of others, by the need of others for help. When our heart doesn't have the foreskin removed, I just don't feel anything. I don't feel anything that there are children suffering, and there are people in Israel, there are wounded soldiers, and there is everyone in their life. When the foreskin is removed, my heart feels and hurts. Another way of explaining Malten et orklat levavchem is open the heart to absorb the words of the Torah, the words of Hashem, because you can be like I know people, especially in other communities. In our community, the truth, Baruch Hashem, I don't think I met anybody like this, but I have been in places where I have been teaching Torah for years. And I know people that come year after year, week after week, but in their lives, zero change. It doesn't touch them. It's more an intellectual exercise. So to remove the foreskin is to expose your heart in a way that is going to be able to absorb, to be affected by the things that happen around it. Okay? Another beautiful thing about Hashem, like Moshe Rabbeinu is telling us about our God. He says, כי השם אלוקיכם הוא אלוהי האלוהים ואדוני האדונים, האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, שלא יישא פנים לא ייקח שוחד. The eternal your God is God supreme, and sovereign supreme is the greatest that you can imagine. The great, the mighty, the awesome God shows no favor and takes no bribe. Nothing affects him to make his decision. That doesn't take bribes. Even us, like sometimes we try to give bribes to Hashem. Hashem, if I do this, will you do this for me? Or Hashem, I don't want to say the things that we do sometimes to bribe Hashem, but Hashem doesn't take bribes. But the same way the psukim are telling me how mighty and awesome and great is HaKadosh Baruch Hu, on the next pasuk it says, עושה משפט יתום ואלמנה, ואוהב גר לתת לו לחם ושמלה. He's up there, he's mighty, he's awesome. But at the same time, he comes down and he looks at the needs of the vulnerable, of the one that needs him. We are used that somebody, the higher you are in your position, the more disconnected you are from the people that are in the low place. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not like that. Upholds the cause of the fatherless and the widow and befriends the stranger, providing food and clothing, and Hashem is giving us the mitzvah of the ger that we know. And I'm skipping just to show you that in our parasha, we're going to find the second paragraph of the Shema. So it speaks more praise about Eretz Israel. I think for those families that are soon going to make Aliyah, these parashiot are full of words of support and courage, explaining how great is this land. It's not like Egypt that has a lot of water. It's a land that depends on the rain. And what does it mean? If it depends on the rain, it makes me all the time look up, literally look up, and also symbolically. I have to be looking up at Hashem. I'm depending on Hashem. It's a land that Hashem, and now here it is. On the previous parasha, on Beit Hanan, we have the first paragraph of the Shema, Ve'avta et Hashem Elokecha, that really speaks about connecting to Hashem from a place of love. Like I love Hashem, bechol levavecha, with all my heart, bechol meodecha, bechol nafshecha, bechol meodecha, with all what I have. Is all about love, and that's why I keep his mitzvot. The second paragraph of the Shema, Vaya im shamoa tishmeu el mitzvotai, it speaks more about serving Hashem from a place of yirah. Of if you don't do that, ishameru lachem, take care not to be lured away to serve other gods, because Hashem's anger will flare up against you, shutting up the skies, etc., etc. I don't want to go beyond the time, but this is for you to continue and going deeper, the connections and the correlations between the first paragraph of the Shema and the second paragraphs of the Shema that should feel the way we approach our days, because all of us say this in our tefillot. It was so nice to see your names in the screen and to see Steph, that at least you are here, but I don't see anybody else. I hope you are here and it's not only your names. Hi, Farnaz.
Hi.
But I
Thank you.
understand this is the price of Zoom. Hi, Marina. Hi, Nusha. This is the price of Zoom. Hi, Dina. Hi, Michelle. Bezrat Hashem. Next week, I will be Bezrat Hashem in person in our
Oh,
class
wow.
at
Great.
697. And if there is people in this group that is helping them that there is a Zoom, I don't mind connecting a Zoom next to me for those that cannot come in person to the class. But anyways, thank you for being here. And
Thank you so
Shabbat
much.
Shalom. Love you all. Bye.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Rabbanit.
You're very
Thank you.
welcome. Bye-bye.